Chapter 11 of The Cruise of the Snark. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Brian Ness. The Cruise of the Snark by Jack London. Chapter 11. The Nature Man. I first met him on Market Street in San Francisco. It was a wet and drizzly afternoon, and he was striding along clad solely in a pair of abbreviated knee trousers and an abbreviated shirt, his bare feet going slick through the pavement slush. At his heels trooped a score of excited gamins. Every head, and there were thousands, turned to glance curiously at him as he went by. And I turned too. Never had I seen such lovely sunburn. He was all sunburn, of the sort a blond takes on when his skin does not peel. His long yellow hair was burnt, so was his beard, which sprang from a soil unplowed by any razor. He was a tawny man, a golden tawny man, all glowing and radiant with the sun. Another prophet, thought I, come up to town with a message that will save the world. A few weeks later I was with some friends in their bungalow in the Piedmont Hills overlooking San Francisco Bay. "We've got him! We've got him!" they barked. "We caught him up a tree, but he's all right now. He'll feed from the hand. Come on and see him." So I accompanied them up a dizzy hill, and in a rickety shack in the midst of a eucalyptus grove found my sunburned prophet of the city pavements. He hastened to meet us, arriving in the whirl and blur of a handspring. He did not shake hands with us. Instead, his greeting took the form of stunts. He turned more handsprings. He twisted his body sinuously like a snake until, having sufficiently limbered up, he bent from the hips and with legs straight and knees touching beat a tattoo on the ground with the palms of his hands. He whirligigged and pirouetted, dancing and cavorting round like an inebriated ape. All the sun warmth of his ardent life beamed in his face. "I am so happy" was the song without words he sang. He sang it all evening, ringing the changes on it with an endless variety of stunts. A fool, a fool. I met a fool in the forest, thought I, and a worthy fool he proved. Between handsprings and whirligigs he delivered his message that would save the world. It was twofold. First, let suffering humanity strip off its clothing and run wild in the mountains and valleys. And second, let the very miserable world adopt phonetic spelling. I caught a glimpse of the great social problems being settled by the city populations, swarming naked over the landscape, to the popping of shotguns, the barking of ranch dogs, and countless assaults with pitchforks wielded by irate farmers. The years passed, and one sunny morning the Snark poked her nose into a narrow opening in a reef that smoked with the crashing impact of the trade wind swell and beat slowly up Papeete Harbor. Coming off to us was a boat flying a yellow flag. We knew it contained the port doctor, but quite a distance off, in its wake, was a tiny outrigger canoe that puzzled us. It was flying a red flag. I studied it through the glasses, fearing that it marked some hidden danger to navigation, some recent wreck, or some buoy or beacon that had been swept away. Then the doctor came on board. After he had examined the state of our health and been assured that we had no live rats hidden away in the Snark, I asked him the meaning of the red flag. "Oh, that is Darling," was the answer. And then Darling, Ernest Darling, flying the red flag that is indicative of the brotherhood of man, hailed us. "Hello, Jack," he called. "Hello, Charmian." He paddled swiftly nearer, and I saw that he was the tawny prophet of the Piedmont Hills. He came over the side, a sun god clad in a scarlet loincloth, with presents of Arcady and greeting in both his hands, a bottle of golden honey and a leaf basket filled with great golden mangoes, golden bananas specked with freckles of deeper gold, golden pineapples and golden limes, and juicy oranges minted from the same precious ore of sun and soil. And in this fashion, under the southern sky, I met once more Darling, the Nature Man. Tahiti is one of the most beautiful spots in the world, inhabited by thieves and robbers and liars, also by several honest and truthful men and women. Wherefore, because of the blight cast upon Tahiti's wonderful beauty by the spidery human vermin that infest it, I am minded to write, not of Tahiti, but of the Nature Man. He, at least, is refreshing and wholesome. The spirit that emanates from him is so gentle and sweet that it would harm nothing, hurt nobody's feelings save the feelings of a predatory and plutocratic capitalist. "What does this red flag mean?" I asked. "Oh, socialism, of course." "Yes, yes, I know that," I went on, "but what does it mean in your hands?" "Why, that I've found my message." "And that you are delivering it to Tahiti?" I demanded incredulously. "Sure," he answered simply, and later on I found that he was, too. When we dropped anchor, lowered a small boat into the water, and started ashore, the Nature Man joined us. Now, thought I shall be pestered to death by this crank. Waking or sleeping, I shall never be quit of him until I sail away from here. But never in my life was I more mistaken. I took a house and went to live and work in it, and the Nature Man never came near me. He was waiting for the invitation. In the meantime, he went aboard the Snark and took possession of her library, delighted by the quantity of scientific books, and shocked, as I learned afterwards, by the inordinate amount of fiction. The Nature Man never wastes time on fiction. After a week or so, my conscience smote me, and I invited him to dinner at a downtown hotel. He arrived looking unwontedly stiff and uncomfortable in a cotton jacket. When invited to peel it off, he beamed his gratitude and joy, and did so, revealing his sun-gold skin, from waist to shoulder, covered only by a piece of fish-net of coarse twine and large mesh. A scarlet loin-cloth completed his costume. I began my acquaintance with him that night, and during my long stay in Tahiti, that acquaintance ripened into friendship. "So you write books," he said one day, when, tired and sweaty, I finished my morning's work. "I, too, write books," he announced. Aha, thought I, now at last he is going to pester me with his literary efforts. My soul was in revolt. I had not come all the way to the South Seas to be a literary bureau. "This is the book I write," he explained, smashing himself a resounding blow on the chest with his clenched fist. "The gorilla in the African jungle pounds his chest till the noise of it can be heard half a mile away." "A pretty good chest," quoth I, admiringly. "It would even make a gorilla envious." And then, and later, I learned the details of the marvelous book Ernest Darling had written. 12 years ago he lay close to death. He weighed but 90 pounds, and was too weak to speak. The doctors had given him up. His father, a practicing physician, had given him up. Consultations with other physicians had been held upon him. There was no hope for him. Overstudy, as a school teacher and as a university student, and 2 successive attacks of pneumonia were responsible for his breakdown. Day by day he was losing strength. He could extract no nutrition from the heavy foods they gave him, nor could pellets and powders help his stomach to do the work of digestion. Not only was he a physical wreck, but he was a mental wreck. His mind was overwrought. He was sick and tired of medicine, and he was sick and tired of persons. Human speech jarred upon him. Human attentions drove him frantic. The thought came to him that since he was going to die, he might as well die in the open, away from all the bother and irritation. And behind this idea lurked a sneaking idea that perhaps he would not die after all, if only he could escape from the heavy foods, the medicines, and the well-intentioned persons who made him frantic. So Ernest Darling, a bag of bones and a death's head, a perambulating corpse, with just the dimmest flutter of life in it to make it perambulate, turned his back upon men and the habitations of men, and dragged himself for 5 miles through the brush, away from the city of Portland, Oregon. Of course, he was crazy. Only a lunatic would drag himself out of his deathbed. But in the brush Darling found what he was looking for: rest. Nobody bothered him with beefsteaks and pork. No physicians lacerated his tired nerves by feeling his pulse, nor tormented his tired stomach with pellets and powders. He began to feel soothed. The sun was shining warm, and he basked in it. He had the feeling that the sunshine was an elixir of health. Then it seemed to him that his whole wasted wreck of a body was crying for the sun. He stripped off his clothes and bathed in the sunshine. He felt better. It had done him good, the first relief in weary months of pain. As he grew better, he sat up and began to take notice. All about him were the birds fluttering and chirping, the squirrels chattering and playing. He envied them their health and spirits.